Tasmania and New Zealand. Which means that's also where we find the majority of the lights. Or even today can be found.
The leader himself. You know, way last year people complained about me playing, Turco a point guard. Heck, there's an entire Reddit post complaining about me playing, a point guard. As in, not just a normal Reddit post, a couple of likes, a 200 reddit post complaining about it. Well, you guys can't complain about it now, lads. Hito's a freaking point guard. He is a point guard in this game. Not only that, he is a 6'10" dummy a point guard. First things first, it is absolute torture to navigate this menu. Man, I forgot how annoying this Wii stuff was. So I'm curious if they have a micro mode. They do. When I was young, I never wanted to do it until I got That's my god! NBA 2K Insider! Forgot how annoying this Wii stuff was. So I'm curious if they have a micro mode. They do. When I was young, I never wanted to do it until I got That's my god! NBA 2K Insider is like the Rich Paul of 2K. I just know I'm gonna get drafted now. I'm probably gonna get a no-trade clause on my rookie contract. First of all, can we talk about his triceps? Why are they that deep? Because it is absolute torture to navigate this menu. I actually have zero interest in changing any of this stuff. I mean, this is big. This is basically NBA 2K10, 2K11 verbatim. Do you guys remember saving game files? Throwback. Bro, this is NBA 2K10. Did they just take a 3-year-old game and port it to the Wii? Oh, you guys remember when they gave you objectives? Oh my god, look at graphics. Oh my god. Come on now, y'all watch the every 2K video. PS2 games have that graphics. Look at all the aliasing. There's aliasing everywhere. Okay, so this is the joystick, which kind of makes sense. How do I jump? Okay, B for some reason is the steal button. I don't know. Oh my god. Oh my god. This is a good idea. I'm passing the ball. I go. Why? And maybe this is a shoot button. I'm not sure. Yo, I'm thoroughly confused right now, and my TV is bugging. AJ with the ball, scoring point guard, right, left. Pass that back. Right here. DeMarcus. Oh, Ronnie was right. I knew it. Nope, that's not it. That's how old this game is, man. DeMarcus was coming out of Kentucky. Wait, wasn't that in 2008? Wait, hold on. Whoa, wait.
Probably.
DeMarcus was in the NBA draft in 2010. And we're playing NBA 2K13, but he's still
Played 2K10 from
They
me.
didn't even try. They didn't even try to try. They didn't even want to make it seem like they were trying. Yes, sir. Oh, maybe you shoot with the 1 or 2 button. It is! Come on! Rotate. Boards! We out! Good board, cousin. My controller stopped working. Okay, it works. Man, what the hell is going on? This is a bad experience, guys. Refit, maybe. Why did you do that? I did not click that. I guess the combine was just filled with regular NBA players. Hey, Google, what year was Al Farouk Aminu in the draft?
2009?
Oh, no, this is 2010 draft class. Hold on. 2K, you mean to tell me that you couldn't just add the 13 draft class? Was it that difficult? What does the 2 button do?
We play at least
Let's find out.
2K10.
Oh, you can call play. Okay, that's kind of hard. You see how my expectations are very low, guys? Look, why is he not? Cousin, pass the ball back. I don't know how to shoot. Certainly with space, fellas. I refuse to continue this because it's basically 2K10. Now, when any 2K came out with the Chinese version of the game and they used the 2K10, 2K11 engine, I was cool with it. But this doesn't play like 2K10, 2K11. It doesn't play like it, man. It is absolute torture to navigate menus on the Wii. Just to get to where you want, you have to put so much focus into your movement. So let's get focused. Okay, what is NBA's greatest? Is this like situations? The 1965 NBA Finals between the Lakers and the Celtics. This is the Celtics' 9th straight trip.
Okay.
Hey, fellas! I don't even remember. Was this in 2K10? This might not have been in 2K10. We playing broadcast today, ladies and gentlemen. No, we're not. I thought I could do it, but I can't. Okay, first of all, this feels way smoother. Maybe because my character's not a 40 overall. I don't know how to shoot. How do you shoot? Point the Wii remote up.
Bruh.
What? You didn't tell me to shoot. I have to do this? Oh, it's gonna be hilarious. I have to see how this works.
Fine, dude.
Alright, ladies and gentlemen. Sprint. Turbo. Oh, he gonna bang this. Watch this. Cash! Woo! Yeah! Hey, is there blonde that are kind of liking this? This is how you block. You block by doing this. This is incredible. This, ladies and gentlemen, is incredible, and I'm already sweating. You rebound by doing jump. Yo. They're a little slow in the head. That's fine, guys. I can't even move my hand. Like, I can't rest my hand because I might accidentally shoot. Fade. Cash. Buckets, baby. Buckets, don't play with me. I'm the greatest player to ever touch a Wii. No cap. I don't know what I expected, but it wasn't this, and I'm kind of enjoying it. I don't know why it's so enjoyable to shoot like this. Cash. Not on Bill Russell. Bill Russell! Yeah, we back. This is kind of cool. Hey, I was shitting on it earlier, but this is kind of cool. Go on with it. Cash! Buckets, baby! How do you post up? And what? I'm just going to abuse it with Bill Russell, because that's what I should have been doing from the gut. English? I guarantee you this is how you shoot, and I don't even know yet. I knew it. That's kind of cool. I knew it. That's kind of cool, yo. They just forced integration with the Wii. I knew it. That's kind of cool. I knew it. That's kind of cool, yo. They just forced integration with the Wii. No matter how awkward it might feel, they're like, nah. When you play on the Wii, you can shoot like this. Cash. Oh my god. Oh my. Ooh. Cash.
6 packs. Speaking 6 packs, you know what I'm saying? That was a joke, don't worry, don't take that serious. Yeah, I did a pack opening on these and it was pretty cool. There are some very good cards in these packs. But then when we have a look at Triple Threat Online, it's crazy because there's screenshots on Twitter going around of people able to get Galaxy Opal Tracy Mcgrady on their boards. And pretty much if you get him on your boards, you can pretty much get him twice. And think that that card's going for about 600,000 MT. We're going to try and see if we can get it. Also, the pink diamond is on the boards too, and I'm pretty sure the amethyst and diamond are too. As there is also a locker code for the career highlights Tracy Mcgrady that I'll show you guys at the end of the video. Yeah, here's some screenshots of the Tracy Mcgrady being on people's boards, and these are reliable people. Like even HTB, if you guys know him, he actually got Galaxy Opal T-Mac on his boards, which is kind of crazy. So yeah, I've already played all my Triple Threat games that I'm going to put in this video. You guys are going to have to see. I was lucky enough to be able to get him on my boards. I think I played about like 30 games, so you guys will see all 30 of those boards. See if we were able to get T-Mac at all. Also, I was just editing the video and 2K did end up confirming that all of these players are on the boards. It wasn't a glitch or anything, they are still on the boards at the time of you guys watching this video, so make sure you grind out Triple Threat Online. Also, this video took me about 5 hours to record, so if you guys can smash that like button, and if we can get 1,500 likes, I don't know if we can do that, that'd mean the world. So we just finished our first game that I'm going to play in this video, and let's see what our board is.
Your dad, your uncle, your everything.
Probably not going to be good, but these boards are still good, like that's 4 tokens right there. First win, actually.
You're fucking everything.
But still, we'll get to some juicy ones a little bit later where hopefully we can see the Opal T-Mac. I find it crazy that this card is actually on the boards because he goes for 700k. Sure, he tries to still
Why did that bug out like that?
I use him in my team. He's my starting shooting guard, and now he's free on the boards, which is absolutely crazy. Shout out to 2K. So this is the team that I use with Dwayne Wade as my star. Then we've got Ben Simmons because he can guard absolutely anyone and shoot the 3, and then T-Mac as well. Your team probably isn't as good as this, but I tell you what, if we're able to get a couple of T-Macs, it'll help out in T's situation. Like, you know, we're up 1.5 million. It'll make it a lot. We'll make it, the rich get richer. It's more just me putting more money into the game makes me richer. Hey, I put real money in to be rich in virtual currency. That doesn't really make sense. But that's 2K for you. And our opponent actually does have a very good team, but I play a lot of Triple Threat recently, so it should be alright. Just because I was playing it a lot to try and get Billy Cunningham, but now I feel a lot more motivation to do it this time. And the main thing we got to make sure of in this game is we just want to score every possession. Then we should be alright. That's going to be green every day. And
Come on.
That's
a lot of contact.
It's a GG to my opponent. So let's try and run this one down. I'm trying to kick it out for a 3. And there's the 3 that we were waiting for. T-Mac wide open. Yeah, this game's a little bit tougher than usual because my opponent definitely has a good team. He's also reading my passes pretty well, but at least we get a score. Okay, so the 3 with Will Chamberlain. That has to miss. And look at the rebounds that we get. Let's kick it to D-Wade in the corner. Quick release. And that's a green. Unfortunately, it was only a 2, but that just means we need 2 more 2s to end up winning this game. And make that just 1. And make that done. We got the steal. So now for this board, this is where we should start seeing some players. If they are on the boards, because 2 balls. And okay, we get a deluxe Dwayne Wade type. I thought that was something new because it took a while to load in, but not a bad ball, I guess. I don't know, but we should get something better in these final few games. So let's get into another game now. My next opponent also has a good team. D-Wade wide open here. You can't stag off that much, except he is going to miss this one. Wow. Especially people that run no meter with D-Wade. Bro, I can't deal with it. Like, I literally get beat so often. So I just need to play defense, but I just can't defend this D-Wade, especially when his little Chamberlain's getting a lot
What the fuck was that?
Does make sense because, you know, we're running Ben Simmons, but still I feel like all I need is just 1 stop, and then we should be alright. D-Wade, pick up that ball. Let's get
This is such bad basketball.
Is that a good shot? No. Yes. No, that was bad. Maybe getting to steal this. No, he's gonna pull that free, make it. GG's. Wow. That's right.
Get a
Sometimes we're gonna see what the
rebound,
boards is
man.
like if we actually lose. So maybe this is the time we'll be able to see if we lose, if the boards are any better. I need a 3. Let's just take that 2 though. And oh my. Okay, good. We get the steal, and let's kick it up to Ben Simmons. Get that finish off the work. Yeah, I think I've come to the conclusion I'm gonna lose this game, but it's fine because it's only a 3 ball drop that we're gonna miss out on, and I just took a terrible shot because I'm pretty sure I'm gonna lose. Let's just take the L. And he's gonna make that. So let's see what this 1 ball drop's gonna give us. Alright, what's this board? The one that we lose. Okay, we didn't get much better there. Let's hopefully actually get
this is giving me a headache from.
I actually feel like I lose a lot when I sit down and record, so that's the reason why I'm going to turn off my camera and then just grind through these games, and you guys will just see the boards pretty much. much, and I do just want threes. I feel like that's one thing that kind of kills me. Sometimes I just go for threes a bit too often, rather than just taking the wide open twos. So maybe that's what we got to do a bit more. The Ben Simmons wide open here, grading that one. Alright, I'm gonna need us to actually finish here. This is D-Wade. Every single, there's no way. What? I've missed 2 wide open, 3 wide open threes actually in a row. I feel like I've got to turn off my face cam soon because this is not going great for us. There we go. That's one thing I love about D-Wade is the fact that he can sometimes actually defend those plays. I'm not shooting that, but I will shoot that. Green light to team out. I can't lie.
He's gonna take that up as well.
Right now. He's got takeover and it's not looking great for us, but we just need a 3. And the one way to do that is D-Wade. We're up by 1. I need a 3. D-Wade, finish that one. That's not the greatest of shots it's in. I really am not playing the best of defense, but hopefully that'll change when I'm actually focused and just locking in, rather than just trying to take threes and trying to get steals and trying to play.
What? 2 people?
So far, we get absolutely jammed on, and 2 of these players have takeover. This next point wins. I feel like we can do this. I feel like we can do this. We just take a baseline, not fake on the hop step on this one, and then we can see. Very good defense. Wow. Let's not pass that to D-Wade. Was very much thinking about it. Now I'm going to kick it to him. I want him to make the 3, and he does. Next board up is a 3 ball drop one. And a big. If I can just see one of these players, I'll be happy. This will make my video perfect, and we are going to... That can be very quiet. So now I'm just going to turn off my face cam and you guys will hear my reaction to the boards that we get. Hopefully we can get a player. Next board up, please. 5k. That's actually pretty good, but we don't get a player. I'll still take 5k there though. I actually lost my next game too. I can't believe it. At least we don't get an insane board, so 5 tokens we'll hopefully get. And now it's time for our final board. We did end up winning this game and... yeah, not great. Alright, so it's at the start of a new board now and use run, so first board obviously not great. And we do now have our next board, still only 1 drop, and there's Cliff Hagan. I've never seen this card on the boards. I can confirm I don't have this card, so I do actually want to try and get him. Let's see if we do. And it's looking real good, and we're going to end up getting Cliff Hagan. Let's go. Yeah, I got him from like a weekly spin. Right, that's a bit of an L. Let's keep slow, but we'll take it. Next board drop up. Can we get another player? Not in this one. 5 tokens in both the green and the red is actually very good. Alrighty, how about this next board? We've seen 1 player being clipped and 4 tokens is the best hit. Alright, the next board up, I have seen a lot of people actually get these cards and we're just not as lucky. My King boards have never been good. Alright, next board up. I think we got 3 ball drops in this one and we've got a legacy pack. Still not good. Here we go. I feel like I've heard boards have been so good. Ours, I mean, we'll take the build pack. Not terrible. Please be better. Next one up. Why do mine suck? This is a 5 ball drop and our balls have not been good. And yeah, it continues that way. We've just been seeing the same things. This is another 5 ball drop and the final game of this run, we didn't lose a single one and we got like just tokens the whole time, bro. I mean, to be fair, there is quite a bit of tokens there, but I was expecting something a little bit better. I was hoping for one of these teammates to be on the board so they can actually show you guys in the video rather than just screenshots, but looks like we're going to have to go on another run. So it's the start of a new run, and this is the last ball drop, the last run that I'm going to go on. And yeah, first one's okay. I can't believe this. I've been so unlucky, and I've seen so many people be super lucky. I've been playing this for like 3 hours straight. We're just getting these white out packs, but hopefully this run can get us well done. I believe Doug West, dude. Wow. And just like that, we did end up getting him, so I'll quick sell him. Alright, next ball drop off. And yeah, it's still not great. Alright, so this is when we should start seeing plays where they're actually, I think they are on the board. So this one, obviously not. Okay, I'm expecting something on this one. I should just never expect anything. I literally haven't. What is this, dude? Oh my. And yes, I put my face cam on because this is the reaction you guys need. It sucks. I think this is 5 ball drops. I'm not 100% sure. It doesn't really matter. We do have 5 tokens, so not too bad. And yeah, it was 5 ball drops. So we've only got 1 more game to go to see if we can get this open team match or any team match. It's not looking very likely. And this is going to be our final board that I'm going to show you guys in this video because I've been grinding this for a very long time. Like I'm saying 4 hours. And yeah, our final board is just exactly the same. Like I swear we've seen this exact board almost every single 5 ball drop. Let's hopefully at least get the tokens, I guess. And anyway, now that we've finished this board, we didn't really get anything that good. I do want to bring bring to your guys' attention, look at my MT right now, and look at my MT that we had before. That right there is just from playing in triple threat online. I didn't open up any packs, didn't redeem any options or anything like that. This is just from playing. Now, yes, all 3 players that I use do have diamond contracts, so it costs 3 for me to play. That's a lot of MT just for playing the game. And the bigger thing though is actually tokens. You guys can see my tokens that I have right now and the tokens that I had before. That's a big difference as well. So yeah, it's definitely a good way for you guys to be able to get MT. And also we have 5 packs. I don't think any of these are very good. And obviously we weren't able to get Trace Mcgrady, which is a little bit sad, but his price has gone down so much. Not really his Opal, but his pink diamond for sure. And the card is actually really worth it. And I can't lie when I say that. Like, he's one of my favorite cards in my team because I personally run that starting shooting guard. So yeah, if he's going for 500k, I actually do recommend him. You guys can see there's so many more T-Macs on the auction house right now. Like, look at how many are up. This is because he was on the triple threat online boards. Yeah, basically the pink diamond was also on the boards as well, and so was this amethyst that, I don't know, actually looks a little bit more rare. But if you guys did click on this video, be happy because you can get a chance at Trace Mcgrady anyway. And I'm going to do this right now because there is a locker code, and the code is just Mcgrady. You guys can see it on screen right now. And once we put this code in, you guys will see we get a chance at Diamond T-Mac. We can also get the amethyst in the pack. This is just 100% T-Mac. So who do we want? We want the Diamond T-Mac in the right corner. To be honest, I actually probably want the pack because I'm not going to use this Diamond T-Mac, but just for the video, let's try and get the Diamond T-Mac. So I don't know. It doesn't really look too good right now. You never know though. If he hits to the left, or Tisric hits it to the left, we might be able to get him. Or we're going to get the pack, so we can open up that. Now let's go over and open up this T-Mac pack, and let's get our pink diamond T-Mac that we're going to get, because we are very lucky like, yeah, I think that's the end of the video. So yeah, thank you guys for watching this video. Make sure to smash that like button, subscribe, and you can follow me on Twitch, Twitter, and Instagram. Let's try and see if we can get 1,500 likes, and then I'll see you in the next video. Bye.
888 poker. Play £20 free. No deposit needed.
Oh my god.
What is going on, guys? DBG here, and this is episode number 190 of the No Money Spent Squad. If you guys are new to the channel, subscribe. We are trying to hit one.
Hey, 42 here. There is a soulmate for everyone. Somewhere out there on our vast blue planet, there is a single person who is your perfect other half. It doesn't matter if you have the face of a sea cucumber and the personality of a cabbage. There is someone out there who will love you for who you are and fall into a lifetime of eternal, undying love. At least that is what Hollywood movies, poetry, and endless novels would have you believe, and what billions of people genuinely think. But what's the truth? What is the real science behind soulmate and love at first sight? Do soulmates actually exist? Is a soulmate as a social phenomenon actually possible? Let's find out once and for all, and whether your love interest is meant to be, or whether there's something more rational going on behind the scenes. What you're about to learn will change how you look at love forever. You have been warned. But first, a quick word about today's sponsor, Footmouse. Do you still play video games with your hands? Well, you're putting yourself at a huge disadvantage. Recently, I've been using Footmouse and fragging moves left, right and centre. Don't believe me? Take a look for yourself at this innovative new product.
Introducing a revolution in gaming. Footmouse, the first science-based gaming mouse made for feet.
I've been using Footmouse since 2017, but not only that, there's a lot of controversy as to whether or not Footmouse should be turned illegal. It's just such a huge advantage, but it's still all about skill. Footmouse just raises the skill gap.
Footmouse, get your
What
foot in
the
the game.
fuck?
And the best part about all this is that Footmouse is sponsored by Raid Shadow Legends. I'm sure you've already heard about Raid Shadow Legends by now, but there has never been a better time to start playing because the daily login rewards program for new players has just been doubled from 90 to 180 days. I love it, and you can play Raid both on mobile and on your desktop. This is amazing because every day you can claim a free reward 3 barbarian legendary champions. Skill of the Drake. I do play the campaign mode a lot. You have to get the perfect combination of champions and items to win, which is really fun to play around with. It's always exciting opening a new shard to see which new champion you're going to get, and the tavern mode is fantastic. You can easily upgrade your new champions by sacrificing your old ones. You can find me in the game under the nickname 42. If you're quick enough, you can also join my clan. So what are you waiting for? Go to the video description, click on the special links, and if you are a new player, you will get 200,000 silver, plus 1 free champion, Grinner. All this treasure will be waiting for you here. These rewards will only be available for new players for the next 30 days, so don't delay. Good luck, and I'll see you there. Thanks for Raid Shadow Legends for sponsoring today's video, and I'm very, very sorry to say, but Footmouse does not exist. Okay, so before we discover whether soulmates actually exist and I reveal a secret formula for finding yours, let me ask you a question. What percentage of people do you think genuinely believe that soulmates exist? As in, there is one and only one perfect person out there for everyone. Take a wild guess. Is it 30%, 40%, 50% perhaps? Try 73%. That's right, researchers found that a staggering 73% of Americans believe in soulmates. That's higher than I would have thought, but what really shocked me is that a slightly higher percentage of men believe in soulmates than women. What? Did you know that whether or not you believe in soulmates affects how you will approach relationships and how lucky you will be in love? And it all depends on your true love mindset. When it comes to relationships, there are 2 kinds of people. Those who have a destiny mindset and those with a growth mindset. A destiny mindset means you believe in the inherent power of the universe or perhaps a deity to bring you and your true love together. Essentially, you believe in soulmates. On the other hand, those with a growth mindset believe a strong, evergreen relationship is not just found, it has to be worked on over time and built up from nothing. They also believe that there are many more than just one potential mate for everyone out there. Those with a destiny mindset tend to be more impulsive and passionate. They fall into relationships easier, and when they do, the initial period is always fiery, intimate, and intense. But these relationships can fall apart just as easily. Destiny-inclined mindsets tend to be much more put off by their partner's faults. They view any faults, big or small, as an indication that they are perhaps not their soulmate. Because, well, a true soulmate wouldn't have any faults, would they? If there are any signs that a relationship doesn't fall neatly into their preconceived idea of what their romantic destiny should be, then they usually end the relationship. As a result, those with a destiny mindset go through more relationships during their lifetime. What's ironic, and even more ironically, one study actually found that couples in a relationship who both have a destiny mindset and genuinely believe they are made for one another are, according to the statistics, unhappy in that relationship much more often. Those with a growth mindset, however, do things in the complete opposite way. Once they have found someone they are romantically inclined towards, they will work in building a relationship with that person. If hiccups do occur, they are much more likely to work to solve them. And when they encounter things they don't like about their partner, they usually learn to love it or accept it as a part of a healthy relationship. Because every single relationship does have issues. There are always those quirks about our partners that we initially find cute, but after a while they annoy the shit out of us. That's entirely normal. And it depends on your mindset, destiny, or growth, whether you will bin that partner once those quirks begin to annoy you. Growth mindsets have longer and more stable relationships than destiny mindsets. The growth mindsets go through fewer partners before permanently settling down. They also work harder at relationships. For example, they do more to appease or accommodate their partner's needs. Whereas Whereas destiny mindsets typically do the opposite, because they assume if it's meant to be, then things will work themselves out naturally anyway, without putting in the hard work. So, before we shortly ruin romantic novels forever and discuss the science behind soulmates, let's see if there are any scraps of evidence to prove that they, in fact, do exist. For the sake of clarity, I'm defining a soulmate as there being only one person in the world who is in every way perfect for another individual. Well, the only way one could attempt to prove the idea of a soulmate is by approaching it from either a philosophical or spiritual angle. With current technology, it's not possible to definitively quantify whether a person is, without any doubt, a person's soulmate. Because, to do that, we would have to computationally model those two people's personalities, memories, and ambitions for the future. Essentially, we would have to download their brains. Then we would have to somehow create an algorithm that takes those two models and outputs a romantic suitability score, which would be exceedingly difficult because how one defines romantic suitability differs vastly based on opinions and cultures. But even that wouldn't be enough, because once we have that score, it's completely meaningless without something to compare it against, such as a standardized mean of all potential scores. So, Dave and Susie may have a romantic suitability score of 5.6. Okay, is that good? Bad? High? Low? About average? Since a person's soulmate could be anyone, we would have to create a computer model of every single person in the world. Or at least every person who is the test subject's preferred gender and within a reasonably similar age range. Then we would have to run our algorithm against every single one of those persons' brain models, which could easily be anywhere from 500 million to 2 billion people. Then we could compare the results, and whichever person has the highest suitability score with the initial test subject would be that person's one and only soulmate. Obviously, this is completely impossible today. Perhaps in 10 or so years, when we have the technology to easily create computer models from people's brains, and we have the unfathomably huge computational power required to store and process all of those models, such an experiment could become reality. I envision that one day you may be able to pay a company to do exactly that for you, perhaps through a dating app, and work out which one person out of the entire world's population is scientifically most romantically suited to you. Like the match score currently on online dating sites, leveraging more than 1 trillion times more data and algorithmic might. Until that day comes, we cannot scientifically prove that there will in fact be just one person who is perfect for each of us. It may be the case that there are many, potentially many thousands, of equally suitable candidates out there. So, what does the maths have to say about soulmates? Well, really interesting. In his fascinating book, What If, Randall Munro does exactly that. He took the question, what if everyone actually had only one soulmate, a random person somewhere in the world? And answered it like so. Let's suppose you lock eyes with an average of a few dozen new strangers each day. If 10% of them are close to your age, that's around 50,000 people in a lifetime. Given that you have 500 million potential soulmates, it means you'll only find true love in one lifetime out of 10,000. So basically what he's saying is that mathematically, if soulmates existed, the chance of you meeting yours over your entire lifetime would be close to zero. This means that if everyone were to agree to only procreate with their soulmate and settle for nothing less, the vast majority would be so unsuccessful in this endeavour that the human race would die out in only a couple of generations. So, soulmates don't exist, obviously. Mathematically, they cannot. In fact, as a rough estimate, less than 0.01% of people in relationships who claim to have found their one true soulmate actually have. Sorry. But what if I told you there is a way you can actually find your soulmate in just a few months using a simple algorithm? Well, such an algorithm exists, and I'll tell you exactly how to use it shortly. But first, a quick but necessary segue on the mechanics of love. Usually, people attempt to find their soulmate in a linear way, which is incredibly inefficient. Typically, we go on dates until we find someone suitable enough for a long-term relationship, which usually breaks down after a few weeks or a few years. Get this, the average relationship is only 2 years and 9 months. After a few relationships, there may be a marriage, but only half of all marriages are until death do us part. This process can take decades before finding the one. Eventually, most people, after many duds and perhaps a failed marriage or two, do find that person they're happy enough to stay with for the remainder of their life. If you think you're already in that position, then congratulations. But are they actually your soulmate? I've talked about what love is in a previous video, but to put it succinctly, it's a neurochemical, memory-enhanced bond with another person formed after repeated exposure catalyzed by the release of hormones such as testosterone, estrogen, dopamine, norepinephrine, serotonin, oxytocin, and vasopressin. And you thought I couldn't do dirty talk. The thing is, this chemical bonding process can occur with potentially millions of people. Multiple but similar studies have shown how two strangers staring into one another's eyes for 4 minutes can make them both feel as though they're in love. There have even been some marriages off the back of such experiments. So, after your exhaustive dating, relationship and breakup cycle, how do you know the person that you eventually settle down with is the one? Well, you don't. It may sound cold, but the truth is, you could have, quite probably, and rather comfortably, settled down with at least thousands of other similar individuals. Sure, you're happy and you're in love, but how can you confidently say there is not someone else out there, or multiple people, who you'd have more in common with, feel more comfortable around, find more attractive, and argue with less over the long term? You can't. Or can you? Mathematicians have developed an algorithm to do exactly this. Find your soulmate, or at least very close to your ideal partner, in a fraction of the usual time. Like we talked about earlier, using current technology, there is no way to actually find your optimal partner out of every person alive. There are just too many variables and too many people out there. And realistically, most people can only date between 50 to 100 people in a single lifetime. But by using the following mathematical technique, you can come really close to it and find someone at least 99% of the way to your perfect soulmate in well under 100 days. However, it's going to require you to be rather cold and not get sidetracked. It goes like so. First, you date 10 people who you find mildly attractive and fit your basic criteria for a spouse. After each date, you reject them, no matter how much you feel like they could be the one. You simply say, no thanks, and move on. Then, you rank all 10 dates. And then, you take the first person on that list, your number one most preferred date, and you simply remember them. Next, you keep going on more dates, And as soon as you go on a date with someone who outranks your number one from the first group of 10, that is your soulmate. At least that is the closest you can come to finding your soulmate in a single human lifetime, with limited resources and limited time to go on a limited number of dates. Mathematicians call this method optimal stopping theory, and it is mathematically proven to be the optimal way to find your best available partner with the least amount of effort or wasted time. So, have fun out there, and I won't be held responsible for any ruined relationships as a result of watching this video. Thanks for watching, and don't forget to check out the sponsor, Raid Shadow Legends.
Switch your energy and take one small step towards Money Supermarket.
Want to play the guitar but don't know where to begin? Musician is the best way to get started. The app listens to you play and guides you step by step to tune up and play your first song.
Hey, 42 here. Time is an illusion. Lunchtime, doubly so. So what time do you make it right now? Probably every person watching will have a different answer. Not just because you watch this video at different times during the day, but also because we have to deal with different time zones, different clocks, and varying degrees of accuracy. But mostly because you bought that suspicious Rolex watch for $5 in Singapore. The idea of time existed long before clocks, zones, different clocks, and varying degrees of accuracy. But mostly because you bought that suspicious Rolex watch for $5.
Yeah, 10, 20, 30, 40, 50. Bugs.
$5 in Singapore. The idea of time existed long before clocks. So how do we define it? What is time? And what are some of the amazing and strange ways it can affect our lives? Early attitudes towards time were relatively simple. We used the motions of the sun to give us an understanding of our place during the day. Sun high, find food, kill food, eat food. Sun low, find woman, go to cave, shouted woman till she made fight. There were also the shifting seasons, which we weren't able to measure, but you would learn to follow them and predict them from the way that nature changed around them. The first instruments to make time measurements were sundials, but these were highly localized, and from our perspective as modern clock users, the times would be different each day, since the amount of daylight increases and decreases steadily throughout the year, by just over 2 minutes per day in fact. This means that a specific point on the sundial would actually be reached slightly earlier or later the following day. There were various other measures like sun timers and water clocks, but it wasn't until the early 19th century that we had reliable mechanical clocks. Still, they weren't all running at the same speed, but at that point it didn't really matter. People in every town worked to one main clock, and the bells would ring out every hour on the hour, and that's how the day would be organised. Then, when you went to a different town, you would then work off that clock, which might run at a different speed, but the difference is so small that you wouldn't notice a change. Then came along one significant technology that made us all realise that we had to sync up all of these different clocks, and that thing was railways. Imagine trying to organise a train schedule where every stop on the line picks at a different time, partly because of their own town clock being off, but also due to their different positions on the globe. A city like Bristol, for example, which is only a couple of hours car journey west of London, would have a solar noon, that's the point when the sun is at its highest in the sky, about 10 minutes later than London, thanks to the 2.5 degree difference in its position. So we needed a standard, or it would all be chaos. On December the 1st, 1847, time really began, with the adoption of Greenwich Mean Time, which was often referred to as railway time, until 1880 when it became all of Britain's legal time. Many clocks would show both local and GMT on separate faces. The time zones in the US became vital since the differences over such a large country were even greater. That's also where the word hello comes from. A telephone greeting needed to be adopted rather than good morning or good afternoon, since you could be talking to someone thousands of miles away, and their morning might be your afternoon. Alexander Graham Bell, inventor of the telephone, actually preferred the phrase ahoy hoy. Imagine how much more fun the world would have been if that had stuck. Soon, each county in Britain had standardised time, and then the world began to coordinate as communication and travel became even faster. Most countries related their time to GMT time by 1929, but it wasn't until Nepal signed up in 1986 that we had a complete global system. Okay, so that's the basic history. Now let's talk about the theory. What exactly is time? Or at least, how can we define it? Well, time is really three things, or concepts that share a common name. First, it is a way to label and order events in the universe. I buy a tub of ice cream, I eat all the ice cream, I feel sick, and certainly ashamed of myself. I need something that can show that buying comes before eating, and then sickness and shame follow it. This is ordering, like a calendar. Secondly, it's a way to measure the distance between two events. The ordering tells me which comes first, but it doesn't say how far apart they are. If I get a new job and then a new car, will they happen 2 weeks apart or 2 months apart? And thirdly, and this one is a little more abstract, time is a medium we move through that allows us to see that changes have actually happened. The leaves turn from green to orange, wrinkles grow under your eyes, and that beer belly swells even larger. This gives us the concept of past and future. It's interesting that the ancient Greeks saw the future as something that snuck up unseen behind their backs, whilst the past was laid out in front of them for them to stare out into. Sneaky future, you never know what it's up to. This third concept is really important because it's the only one that requires us to have an arrow of time, a direction it moves in and never changes. The future cannot come before the present. The smoke never returns from the air into the cigarette. The milk never unswirls out of our coffee. And I don't eject that ice cream back into the tub, or backwards to the shop and exchange it for money. That would be weird and gross. The reason many things seem strange when you play them backwards is because of entropy. Entropy is the second law of thermodynamics, and of all the rules of physics, it's probably the one we are surest about. To put it simply, entropy is the measure of the order or disorder of a system. The law states that the entropy of a closed system will either remain constant or increase with time. This means that you will always go from ordered to disordered. Think about your bed. You tidy it, and then it always slips slowly into a chaotic mess. And saying that mess, you find a chocolate bar that has a nice, ordered, delicious collection of energy. But then you stuff it in your face, and that stored calorie energy turns into kinetic energy for walking, heat, and even sound when you tread on something in the dark and scream. I told you your room was messy. At least now you know it's not your fault, it's just entropy. Think about a coffee with milk in it. The milk will always stay mixed around the coffee. It will never separate, so you have an area in the cup of just milk and an area of just coffee. If it does, then your milk was really out of date and has evolved into a sentient being. But why is this? Well, it's really just probability. The amount of ways you can organise something into a useful or ordered way is much, much smaller than the ways you can organise it into a chaotic, meaningless mess. Let's take writing as an example. If you close your eyes and randomly bash letters on your keyboard for a minute, it's very unlikely that you will make many words because there are so many combinations of letters, but only a few combinations make real words. Take the word piggy, P-I-G-G-Y. There are no other words in English made from just those 5 letters. Yigpig, yigpig, piggy, no. One more example. Put an ice cube in a bowl of water and it will melt, and you'll end up with a bowl full of slightly more water. Now, if you reverse time, you would expect the ice cube to form out of the water. But how would that be possible? How would all of those water molecules decide between them which of them had to become the ice and which would stay as water? It just doesn't make sense. Entropy is how we know that time is destined to move in only one direction. Alright, so we know that time has a direction. What about its speed? Is time moving at the same rate for everyone and everything? No, it isn't. It's relative to the speed you are moving, and like gravity. The faster you are moving, the slower you experience time compared to someone who is not moving. This is part of Einstein's theory of relativity. You can see relativity in action every day. For example, if you're on a moving train and you throw a ball up in the air and catch it, you only witness the ball moving at the speed you threw it. Whereas someone stood on the platform as the train shoots past them at high speed, watching you throw the ball in the air through the window, will see the ball move much faster, because they will see it move at the speed you threw the ball, plus the speed of the moving train. Now, the problem comes when we swap that ball for a beam of light. Most of the time, the speed of light is fixed, although it can be slowed down when you move. This is part of Einstein's theory of relativity. You can see relativity in action every day. For example, if you're on a moving train and you throw a ball up in the air and catch it, you only witness the ball moving at the speed you threw it. Whereas someone stood on the platform as the train shoots past them at high speed, watching you throw the ball in the air through the window, will see the ball move much faster, because they will see it move at the speed you threw the ball, plus the speed of the moving train. Now, the problem comes when we swap that ball for a beam of light. Most of the time, the speed of light is fixed. Although it can be slowed down, nothing can travel faster. So take the same example, but swap the ball for a beam of light. The train is moving and you throw the beam of light up in the air. So, in this instance, the onlooker would see the beam of light travel at the speed of light, plus the speed of the train. But that's not possible, because you can't exceed the speed of light. So something must have happened to the time to make up for the lost speed. Therefore, in this example, you and the onlooker would be experiencing time passing at a different rate. This is called time dilation, and it's a great excuse for being late, since you can claim that your watch was just going slower because you walk so fast. But in reality, the difference is negligible. The astronauts racing around the Earth at almost 8 kilometers per second in the ISS have aged about 0.005 seconds less than us back on Earth in the past 6 months. Gravity also affects the flow of time in the same fashion. The stronger the gravity, the slower time passes. So if you were stood on a planet with several hundred times the mass of Earth for just 1 hour, a whole year will have passed back here on Earth. Relativity will never truly have an impact on our lives until we can build ships that can move at close to light speed. Then you could go off on a trip to some star and come back to find all of your relatives long dead and buried, and a bill of £14 billion because you forgot to cancel your phone contract. That's the physics side of things, but what about personal relativity? Why is it that your current situation affects how fast that you feel time is passing you by? 1 hour in a chemistry class definitely doesn't feel the same as 1 hour out in a bar, unless you really love chemistry or you're rubbish at drinking. When you're a kid, summer seems to stretch on forever, but as you grow into adulthood, summer is gone in a blink, and you can't remember what year it is, and you realise that you missed your mum's birthday. And what about those rare moments of extreme danger or intensity? If you've ever been in a serious accident, you'll remember that feeling of time slowing almost to a halt, and it seems like you're processing everything at a far quicker rate than ever before. A neuroscientist called David Eagleman became fascinated with this idea, and with how the brain measures time. Your brain is incredibly accurate when it comes to time. Take sound, for example. When you hear a loud bang, you turn your head towards the source of the sound. But how do you know where it's coming from? Well, that sound comes from the source and hits each of your ears at a slightly different time, thanks to the width of your head, which is how far apart your ears are. This time difference is as little as 9 microseconds. That's 9 millionths of a second. But your subconscious brain is still able to recognize and use this information to calculate where the sound is coming from. You also track the rhythms of the day and night without needing to see the sun. This is called our body's circadian rhythm. Your brain can even measure seconds, minutes, and hours passing by with incredible accuracy. Ever woken up at exactly 1 minute before your alarm goes off? That's no coincidence. Your brain is like a little Swiss watchmaker's house, stuffed full of various timekeeping devices, and possibly some cheats. Eagleman tried to test the effect of high-intensity situations. The problem was, you can't just go around pushing people in front of cars or dropping their pets out of windows to see how they react. So he found something called a suspended catch air device. That basically involves dropping people through a hole whilst they face upwards so that they can't see the safety net behind them. He gave each volunteer a screen on their wrist, which would flash a random number slightly faster than the eye can normally see. If they did experience time slower, then hopefully they'd be able to see the number on the screen. Sadly, it didn't work, but they did note that when asked how long they thought the fall had taken, volunteers overestimated by an average of 36%, so something was happening to their perception of time. But this phenomenon still largely remains a mystery. And finally, we can't talk about time without mentioning time travel. Travelling to the future is clearly possible, thanks to special relativity. All you need to do is keep travelling close to the speed of light, and life on Earth will race by much quicker than your personal experience of time. Travelling close to light speed is no easy task. It would require absolutely enormous amounts of energy. And imagine how disappointed you'd be if you got out of your ship and still no one had invented X-ray glasses or a reverse microwave to make your beer cold in an instant. Without those, the future is totally pointless. Travelling to the past is a little tricky, and we'd almost certainly need some sort of wormhole to achieve it, but it's at least theoretically possible. Having a wormhole to the past would not defy the laws of physics, even if it does lead to the potential for paradoxes, such as the bootstrap paradox. This could be where a young man travels back in time, meets a girl and gets her pregnant. He leaves because he didn't get into the time travel game to get tied down. But the woman gives birth to a boy, who ends up being the time traveller himself. He is, without knowing it, his own dad, who would make parents' evening at school very confusing. So, time is many things. It can be a measurement, a concept, even a way of travel. We still don't fully understand the complexities of time. Maybe we never will. But in the end, it doesn't matter what it is or how long it is. It's what you do with it that counts. Thanks for the view. Subscribe for more. See you soon. He had simply gotten drunk at a Hey, 42 here. Space is often referred to as the final frontier. As planet Earth grows crowded, with few blank spaces left on the map to explore, mankind has turned its attention to the stars, seeking to uncover the secrets of the universe. With so much space to cover, exciting new discoveries are made almost daily, and as technology progresses, we're seeing farther than ever before. Let's take a look at 9 fantastic things in space that will blow your brains into the cosmos.
Fuck off.
Floating. Among the other space rocks in our solar system's asteroid belt, the asteroid designated P2013P5 doesn't quite fit in with the rest. Most asteroids are simply pinpoints of light against a blacker space through our telescopes. But this one in particular drew the attention of NASA scientists due to the 6 milky white tails that seem to sprout from it. It's not every day you find a lawn sprinkler in space, so naturally, astronomers wanted to figure out what caused it. The tails seemed to change every few days. Quite perplexing, until they realised that the asteroid was actually spinning quite fast. Then, things started to click into place. The prevailing theory regarding the breakdown of small asteroids into space dust considers interstellar collisions to be the most likely culprit. But since P2013P5 lacks a large burst of stellar dust seemingly cast off all at once, the implication is that its unique tails weren't caused by a collision. Instead, observations offer up another potential cause: rotational stresses that break up asteroids bit by bit. The core of the asteroid is 1,400 feet wide. a good deal larger than the amount of dust spun off to form the tails. As it continues to shed its outer layers, adding to several hundred tons of dust already streaming behind it, scientists will study it to gather more data on the final phase of an asteroid's life cycle. And, hopefully, P2013-P5 will continue to water celestial lawns for many years to come. In February of 2006, astronomers searching for the telltale flash of supernovae by the Hubble telescope spotted a bright burst of light from the constellation Boots. Mysteriously, nothing was visible at the location before it flared, and nothing has been visible since. After bestowing the phenomenon with the name SCP-06F6, scientists set to work, trying to reason out what exactly they had just witnessed. They dubbed it an unusual optical transient, and one of a new class, which can be roughly translated as, we have no idea what that was. It's not likely to have been a supernova, or at least not one as we know them, for a number of reasons. First, a star-going supernova brightens dramatically over a short period of time, before fading more slowly than it appeared. It takes around 20 days on average for the event to reach its peak intensity. But then we have SCP-06F6, which took 100 days to reach full luminosity, before fading away at an equally slow rate. Slow to arrive and slow to leave. Kind of like in-laws. Second, the supernova explanation takes another blow when scientists consider the spectral lines given off by the event. The light emitted could indicate a carbon-based star going supernova, which would generate an explosion of a relatively low temperature between 5,000 and 6,000 degrees Kelvin. Of course, this is only low relative to other exploding stars. However, in August of 2006, the European X-ray satellite discovered an X-ray glow around SCP-06F6 location, not a feature shared with other low-temperature supernovae. Third, the event generated unusual patterns in the visible light spectrum, showing broad line features in the blue light region, whilst maintaining continuous emission in the red light region. There is currently no known object that shares those variations. Perhaps there is a containment breach at some deep space research facility. That's as likely of a theory as any other, for now. Until we find another optical transient like SCP-06F6 to study, we'll have to be comfortable with the knowledge that we understand far less about the universe than we think. Another example of how little we actually know about the furthest reaches of space comes in the form of the Great Attractor. Proof that the universe might not be as uniform as scientists have theorized. It's the great galactic bathtub pulling in everything around it. And the interesting part is that there isn't nearly enough visible mass to account for such a massive gravitational pull. From our perspective in the Milky Way, the attractor is located through the zone of avoidance, a region in space filled with so many stars, galaxies and other interstellar debris that we aren't able to make out very much using the visible light spectrum. However, its location can be inferred based on the Great River of Galaxies, 60 megaparsecs wide, including our own local group, the Virgo cluster, the Hydra Centaurus supercluster, and more, all flowing toward the attractor at a rate of 600 kilometers per second. Using infrared and radio-based methods of seeing through the zone of avoidance, scientists found the Norma cluster, which is estimated to contain at least 1 quadrillion solar masses. That's astronomically huge, and a good contender for the source of the Great Attractor. Except that the mass in the Norma cluster still can't sufficiently explain the full range of motion astronomers see on a galactic scale. Located beyond the Norma cluster is the Shapley supercluster, which dwarfs the former at nearly 10 quadrillion solar masses. Prevailing theories today suggest that nearby galactic clusters, and even the Great Attractor itself, are all ultimately moving towards the staggeringly massive Shapley supercluster. Just when scientists think they found the largest thing in the universe, something else comes along and flips everything we thought we knew upside down. Stars have a reputation for being burning globes of elemental gases that sparkle at night and warm our world during the day. But some stars aren't quite as fiery as the image you're led to believe. the Y-class dwarf stars completely shattered the stereotype, prompting astronomers to create a new star classification after their discovery. Not just because of their size, but because they were so shockingly cold. The first white dwarf stars were introduced to the scientific community by NASA in late 2011, thanks to the efforts of the Wide Field Infrared Survey Explorer program. They drew a great deal of attention due to one of their number having an estimated surface temperature of just 25 degrees Celsius. Or perhaps even less. It's not often you find stars colder than the human body out in the cosmos. So this naturally encouraged a search for additional Y-class stars to see if there were more that defied expectations. In 2014, the search proved fruitful, as another dwarf star discovered by NASA was found to boast sub-zero temperatures of between -48 and -13 degrees Celsius. If there are any planets orbiting it, they better have some good space heaters. Because these sorts of stars are so abnormal, it is difficult for scientists to determine whether they are in fact remarkably cold stars or free-floating planets drifting through the universe. But at the very least, they offer some very exciting possibilities. Swap out our sun for a Y-class dwarf and global warming would be nothing but a distant memory. Sometimes it isn't what astronomers find in space that piques their interest, but what they don't. Current models of the universe allow for a certain amount of variation, but when there's a statistically significant anomaly that breaks the mold, there are plenty of questions to be asked. The discovery of the Eridanus supervoid begs one question in particular. Why is there a massive hole in the universe? Scientists studied the early years and subsequent expansion of the universe by mapping the cosmic background radiation that's visible in all directions. By measuring the variations in energy given off by radioactive sources, they can identify pockets of matter like galaxies and superclusters, as well as the empty spaces in between. On a large scale, the universe is expected to be relatively uniform when it comes to the distribution of background radiation. But near the constellation Eridanus, there's a peculiar pocket of nothing. The Eridanus supervoid is somewhere between 6 and 10 billion light-years away, and NASA estimates it to be 500 million light-years across. It's the largest structure astronomers have discovered to date in the universe, and they don't have any solid theories yet on why exactly it's so empty. It's so extraordinary that even quantum entanglement with another universe has been considered. But until the Doctor drops by in his TARDIS to let us know that we're on the right track, or at least until we gather more data, the supervoid will remain a mystery. You're likely already familiar with the concept of black holes. Ominous dark maws in space, consuming anything that gets caught in their gravitational pull, chewing up matter and even light itself as though they were little more than an appetizer before the main course. There's a lot we don't know about black holes, like what happens after something is sucked beyond the event horizon. But if there's one thing we know for certain, it's that black holes are equal parts fascinating and terrifying. But even more unnerving is that some of them are known to wander aimlessly around space, chewing up everything in their path. Such entities are known as wandering black holes. A huge wandering black hole was discovered in 2012 by NASA's Chandra X-ray Observatory. Thanks to the efforts of a research team led by Harvard-Smithsonian scientist Francesca Sivano, they found it in the vicinity of a galaxy known as CID 42. Of no relation to this channel, of course. Situated 4 billion light-years away from Earth, it attracted the team's attention due to their observation that it was moving rather quickly for an object containing many millions of solar masses, clipping along at a speed of no less than 4,820,000 kilometers per hour. Any planets in its way are going to end up the galactic equivalent of a fly on a windshield. Perhaps we're lucky it's so far away, but there is in fact a rogue black hole in the Milky Way galaxy, measured on 2 separate occasions in 1996 and 2001 by the Hubble Space Telescope. Thanks to a star accompanying it along its trajectory and the movement of the surrounding stars, scientists were able to track it and determine that it was moving 4 times faster than anything nearby. Speculation about its origin has led to multiple theories. One being that it was shot out of a supernova by the tremendous explosion of a dying star, and the other concerning two smaller galaxies which collided, ultimately merging the black holes at their hearts. Regardless of how it came to be, there is little that can stop it now. Just remember to look both ways when crossing the interstellar highway. While we're on the topic of black holes, at the centre of our galaxy is a theorised black hole so big that Muse wrote a song about it. And it is indeed supermassive. The distance from our humble home in a spiral arm of the galaxy to the Milky Way's galactic core is just over 8 kiloparsecs. For perspective, that's over 246 quadrillion kilometres. Though the exact distance is difficult to measure accurately due to the same zone of avoidance that confounds scientists studying the Great Attractor. From our perspective here on Earth, the galactic core is a densely packed nest of global clusters, each one a group of many thousands of stars. Imagine a ball of popcorn, and you're pretty close to what it would look like. In the early 20th century, the very same Harlow Shapley, for whom the Shapley supercluster was named after, began trying to discover the distances of different global clusters from our solar system. He soon found a notable collection of them in the direction of the constellation Sagittarius, and theorized that such a massive assembly of them might be gathered in the galaxy's heart. His work led scientists to determine decades later that he had in fact found the galactic core. And just like the classic Joseph Conrad novel, we also discovered that our galaxy has its very own dark heart nestled deep within. The Sagittarius A-star supermassive black hole can't be detected directly via visible or infrared light, so instead we infer its existence due to the radio waves it gives off. They provide scientists with sufficient data to calculate its mass, and it's a big one, more than 4 million times bigger than our Sun. At least it knows to stay put, instead of careering across the universe like it's a free matter and light buffet. In a universe that seems to be expanding in all directions, it's surprising to find something out there that's travelling straight for us. The Andromeda Galaxy, the closest large galaxy to our own, is currently approaching us at a rate of around 400,000 kilometres per hour. But don't worry just yet, it still has another 2.5 million light years to travel, which puts it on track to reach the Milky Way in around 4 billion years. Astronomers with NASA speculate that the collision will result in a merging of the galaxies, which could seriously shake up the neighbourhood, pushing our Sun into a new section of the galaxy. They speculate that Earth and the other planets in our solar system will continue orbiting our Sun after the mix-up, but of course such an event is unprecedented. There's not a lot of data to work with. On the initial approach, the galaxies will most likely skirt each other without full contact, narrowly missing before they spin back around and slam into one another once again. Another theory suggests that after the merger, our solar system might become a part of the Andromeda Galaxy, looking back on the spiral arms of our old galaxy in the night sky. This will all be happening in slow motion. Very, very slow motion. It's expected that 2 billion years will elapse between the near miss and the final collision. So there's plenty of time for the futuristic Earthlings to admire the Andromeda Galaxy, taking up nearly all of the night sky on the first go-around. There's even a slight chance that a satellite galaxy of Andromedas could reach us first, but hey, the more the merrier. In a universe filled with rogue black holes and colliding galaxies, it's nice to find something that's pretty to look at without posing a risk to our well-being. In the Serpens constellation, around 5,000 light-years from Earth, astronomers were baffled to discover a nebula with a very distinctive shape. Thanks to the human brain's tendency to find familiar images and random patterns known as pareidolia, many nebulae have been named for their uncanny similarity to objects we know, like the Horsehead Nebula and the Cat's Eye Nebula. But there's no room for creative interpretation here. The Red Square Nebula of the Serpens constellation is, well, a giant red square among the stars. The Red Square Nebula is certainly eye-catching, appearing to be an almost perfect square at first glance. It's actually formed by 2 cone-shaped nebulae, which meet at the tips, and the mind simply fills in the blanks to complete the square.
but the sharp angles and lines that define it granted the honour of being the most symmetrical object of comparable complexity found amongst the stars to date. Thanks for the view, subscribe for more. See you. Hey, 42 here. The world is pretty big and incredibly diverse. So whenever you're somewhere and you think, it can't get much hotter, or wetter, or higher than this, it probably can. So where are the undisputed champions? Where are the most extreme places on Earth? First, let's look at the world's hottest place. Temperatures taken with thermometers on weather stations would have you believe that El Azizia in Libya, with its highest recorded temperature of 58 degrees C, or Death Valley in California with its record high reading of 56.7 degrees C are the hottest places on Earth. But according to new satellite imagery data, they're not even serious contenders. There is a salt desert in the east of Iran that's about 480 kilometers wide and 320 wide, called Dasht-e-Lut, which, as of recently, is officially the hottest place on Earth. The surface of the sand here reaches a scorching 70.7 Celsius. That's almost double the temperature of your body. So, I guess that begs the question, who is the poor scientist who had to sit out here with a thermometer and take a reading every day? I hope they had a fridge at least. Well, we know scientists can do some pretty crazy things sometimes, but no one is that crazy. The data actually comes from a NASA satellite called Aqua that monitors, among other things, the heat radiation of the Earth's surface. From 2003 to 2010, the satellite would image the entire planet every 1 to 2 days, giving us data on temperatures, clouds, winds, and much more. The local name for the desert is Gandon Bay, which means roasted grain. The story is that travelling farmers spilt their seeds on the sand, and within just a few days it was scorched and ruined by heat before it could be collected. Not that you get a lot of people travelling through, it's certainly no picnic out there, but people do come to see the beautiful otherworldly sandcastles in the western corner of the desert. The erosion has carved teetering towers that make it seem like some lost ancient city. Right, so if that got you feeling a little hot under the collar, let's all cool off by heading in the opposite direction. The coldest place on Earth. The lowest recorded temperature is minus 89.2 degrees Celsius, taken in 1983 at the Soviet Vostok station. But the station was just there to make these measurements, so, you know, the scientists were being paid to be there in cold, hard cash. Very cold, hard cash. But imagine if your whole town chose to live like this. Oymyakon is the oldest permanent settlement on Earth, with some 500 people living in freezing temperatures up in the northeastern tip of Russia. In winter, it has got as low as minus 67.7 degrees, and typically averages minus 45 Celsius in December and January. The craziest thing is that, unlike Antarctica, where you're lucky if you ever get above minus 30 Celsius, even in summer, Oymyakon has hit plus 34.6 degrees Celsius in July, and normally averages around 20 C for the summer months. Imagine trying to buy a yearly wardrobe that covered a difference of 100 Celsius. Enough about temperature. We're moving on to new heights, or just really high heights. So, what is the world's highest point? Now this seems like quite an obvious one, right? The highest point must be the highest mountain, which is, yep, that's right, Mount Everest in the Himalayas. But when we say the highest mountain, what do we really mean? Well, we mean that Everest Peak is 8,848 meters above sea level, and no other mountain can match that. But if you measure from the base to the peak, which is quite hard to do because there isn't some nice red line that says the mountain starts here, then actually the tallest mountain is Mount Mauna Kea at a massive 10,203 meters. But it's deep in the Pacific Ocean.
The first 6,000 meters of Mauna Kea are underwater, so it doesn't really help us to find the world's highest point. Let me introduce Chimborazo. Okay, I know it's only 6,267 meters above sea level, but here's a twist.
Wow.
Its peak is the furthest away from the centre of the Earth of any mountain.
I'm just trying to connect this board.
You had in geography class that was a perfect
I'm just
sphere.
chilling, fam.
Well, the Earth isn't actually like that. It bulges around the equator. So
No
the
one,
land
fam.
and the
Just to
sea
keep a
level
record of this
actually
bullshit that's been fucking happening, fam. I ain't got no Opal team map.
Since Chimborazo
I told you,
is
innit,
in
that I saw
Ecuador, named
Yeah.
being right on the
I didn't
equator,
get
it gets this little boost
told
from
me.
the Earth's bulge. So it's
the
actually
diamond thing,
6,384
got it twice, innit, but luckily I got it once,
kilometers
man.
from the centre of the Earth.
I haven't even seen any, like, not even an amethyst.
Bro, the worst is when you see it and you don't get it,
Bro,
you're
it's
not gonna
hurt,
see it
boy.
for a minute.
So that's the highest point. What
I'm
about
asking shit. Look at
Why
this layer,
are
fam.
you
the lowest place
Why
on
are you
the
awake,
Earth's
bro?
surface is the
Go
Dead
bed.
Sea. It's not really a sea.
Go
It's
bed,
more
everyone.
a salty lake, 50 kilometers long and 15 wide, and it lies almost half a kilometer
True.
below sea level. 429 meters to be exact. It gets its name from the almost total lack of aquatic life there. You're more likely to find chips in it than fish. Its salt quantity is so high that swimmers just float on the surface like a human inflatable. But if we don't stick to the Earth's surface, we can find places much deeper.
Every day posted snaps of new W's in that.
There is Mariana's Trench, and its lowest point is called
Yeah.
Challenger Deep, and bottoms out at 10,916 meters below sea level. Here the pressure reaches over
How much
1,000
do you sell
times
for?
what it is at the surface. So unless you happen to be an invertebrate or
This is my game. What are you talking about,
organism,
huh?
you will probably end up as soon
No one can talk to me about my game.
deep underwater. Have you ever had
How much did you buy it for?
when you're at the top of a really high
Going
building
for like,
or say waterfall, and you wonder
320
what it would
something.
feel like?
Well, that's calm. They make it prof.
Well, you're not alone.
I'm almost at
It's often
900 bags
called
now.
the high place phenomenon. And
Must be
some
nice.
psychologists think it's your brain getting confused by the feeling of dizziness and vertigo, even though
I actually
no
don't.
realistic threat is being posed.
Touch the north.
So, imagine what it would feel
Yeah.
like if you took a trip to the top.
But right now, I don't have more than you.
The world's
I got
greatest
500 and something.
This gigantic cliff face can be found on
Paul
Baffin Island
George,
in Canada and
Bobo,
boasts a 1,250
Magic.
meter vertical drop. It would take the average person over 15 seconds to reach the bottom. Jump
Wow.
James Harden.
Now, imagine after all that grind,
people do.
I finally get a
In fact,
diamond
Baffin Island
consumable
has become
pack.
something of a hotspot for base jumpers. Who believe the Arctic
I apparently, you know, that James Harden and that Kobe,
as they take
the
a
two of them are involved in a special card store.
The thought of doing one of
People are
those
saying it's gonna
makes
be
my
an
mouth
Opal Kawhi Leonard.
dry.
Don't know. I don't
Do you
really
know where
care.
else would do that?
I just want Tracy
The
McGrady.
driest place on Earth. Down the west coast of South America,
Yeah.
behind the Andes, lies a 1,000-kilometer strip called the Atacama Desert.
Nah, it's stupid, fam. If you ain't got VC,
Receives around 15 millimeters of
forget.
rain every year. And as little as
this game mode is just built to just rinse
that
your
means
bank
if you
account.
spit on the ground, you're giving it more moisture than it'll see all year. This isn't just
VC.
recent recordings either. Geologists believe that it's
No, the MyTeam points. You can't buy MyTeam points with actual money, fam.
So,
But VC, yeah, you can, and that's what you use to open packs, innit?
come along and dribbled on the exact same dry spot.
I haven't bought VC in a minute still, but I just want to buy VC and just splash out, fam.
Around the edges of the
But the thing is, if you do that, yeah, and then you don't pack anything, you're just gonna be upset, fam.
get over the usual 15 millimeters
Right.
of precipitation, then huge areas of the desert
Fam,
a variety of seeds and bulbs lead dormant
literally from
will come alive in a visual
Is it the
symphony
home or
when
away
the
to that's
rains
usually
do
white?
finally
home, John, home.
When discussing dry places, we should also mention the dry valleys in Antarctica.
Yeah, you
With
bugged.
an enormous
Thought it
continent
was
of
football.
whiteness, these are certainly a strange sight. Permanent.
Give me a shoe with 3 point. I'll take that.
Well, they do have a very small number
I
of
literally said, give me a shoe with 3 point
large
rating, and it's a
green
shoe with 3 point rating.
The reason it's so dry is due to katabatic
Take
winds.
that.
The
Put that on
surrounding
built,
mountains
fam.
block the flowing ice, and then when cold air comes over
I
the
think
top,
I've got 3
the
more games,
gravity
but
pulls it downwards,
call it a
making
day,
it
fam.
rip through the valleys at a
My
rate
eyes are
320
leaning.
kilometers per hour.
I hate
This
Britain wide
heats the air
open.
and evaporates all the ice and snow.
Trust, fam.
This wind
So what, Jay? You don't like Hero Turkey's release or something?
blasts the boulders into these beautiful
I
carvings that look like
I
enormous
saw it because I got
dinosaurs.
frustrated, didn't it? I just couldn't
It gives it
carry
the
anymore
feeling of
so
being in an alien
Yeah, but that's because it was bare laggy before, fam. It was so dumb. It was unplayable.
And the Atacama Desert
So
are
used to
used to
base
test
11 and
various
good, didn't
NASA
it? But
projects,
he was
such as
Nah,
for
I'm pretty used to his release though. You know, that
If you
diamond.
want to escape these
This is
dry
jump shot, I'm
sci-fi
sure used to.
landscapes, where better
I got
than the
magic
world's
anyway.
wettest place? Mosinram, a village in
Only thing about
northwestern
Magic,
India,
only thing about
holds a
Magic
Guinness
Johnson is
World
that
Record as the world's wettest place, with a current average of
ooh,
11,872
his jump shot
millimeters
is a
per
bit
year.
bugs.
To give you some
That's what I'm saying,
perspective,
magic
that's
jump is probably
10
harder than me
times
though,
what rainy
Oh,
Olympics
definitely.
normally averages. The cause of all this rain is related to the Khasi Hills, which are placed right in the path of airflow that comes from the Bay of Bengal. One key factor is
I
that
can't
the
even
air
remember what you have
current
to do.
over
I
the
think you have
hills
to collect a
creates
certain amount of
overheating
cards before you can do
cooling,
that.
which increases the condensation. So it's like you're
You can search that on
constantly
YouTube
pumping the
anyways,
clouds
fam.
full of more water. The
What else
title
is
of
on
world's
YouTube?
wettest place is actually contested by two towns in Colombia, Kyoro and
All you
Puerto
need to do is go
Lopez.
grind out your
Kyoro
fucking
has
my
an
player
average
so I
of
can smack you.
13,299 millimeters
Right,
of
we're up to the team that you lot were gonna make, fam.
But the equipment was
You
pretty
and
outdated,
Jordan
so
or
we don't
whatever.
know how much we can trust
You
these
know,
figures.
we're talking them.
As
You
for
know,
Puerto Lopez,
we're
well,
talking the
has
most.
decent
Yeah,
records to show a
yeah.
12,892 millimeter precipitation average. There are some months missing in the middle of 50 years of data, so unfortunately they cannot claim the title. Seems a bit harsh, but hey, if you're sitting inside all day, you should have time to do your filing properly. If you've forgotten your umbrella, maybe we should look for somewhere else for you to go. How about the world's highest permanent settlement? This honor goes to La Rinconada in the Peruvian Andes. It sits at the bottom of the sleeping beauty reservoir.
You're not really though.
5,100 meters above sea level. It has a pretty stable climate and is
here we go. Real life.
year round. So, what's the appeal for the 50,000
Real life we
or
get
so
baked as well.
inhabitants? Well, it's one of mankind's old loves. Gold. There are gold mines nearby, and this is where almost all of the economy comes from.
Real life,
But the way workers are paid is
real
very
life,
strange.
hold it.
Most are part of the Castillo system. This means they go 30 days unpaid, and then on the 31st day, they can take as much ore as they can carry and hope that they find
Dunk it,
gold.
please. Yes.
It's a complete lottery, of course, but it's common practice to pocket a promising-looking stone, even when it's not Castillo. As well as the peculiar payment system, the city is not the same
The pink diamond.
either. There is no plumbing or sanitation system, and since
He's the tallest point guard in the game with the most money released.
Contaminated. But hey, who needs toilets and non-toxic
He
water?
has the most
if you've
money
got yourself some
released.
shiny,
He's 6'8".
shiny gold?
He's got mad animations.
And
Like,
finally, if you really want to get away from it all, you need to head down to the most remote inhabited place on Earth. Around 300 people
like
live
Kobe,
on
but
the island of
better,
Tristan
fam.
da Cunha, which is 2,000 kilometers from its nearest neighbors on the island of St. Helena. That's a long way to paddle if you need to tell them to turn the music down. The nearest continental land is South Africa, some 2,400 kilometers away. It's actually a small cluster of islands. One is uninhabitable, some are just wildlife reserves.
let me get
but
that
the main
still, man.
island where people live is 98
I know you're looking
kilometers
for free
square.
right here, big
And
man.
these people are members of the British Commonwealth.
There we
The
go.
island was discovered by the Portuguese admiral
No, you got that.
Tristan
You got
da
that.
Cunha
I heard
in
that.
1506, but was only used as a stop-off point for merchants and
Dunk on
whalers
him.
until the early
Easy,
19th
easy.
century. The British declared it part of its empire in 1860, due to two main concerns. Firstly, during the war with the United States, the US used it to launch attacks on British merchant
Fam,
Secondly,
I banged that as well. I didn't get shit, fam. I didn't get fuck all, fam.
Napoleon had already escaped.
So I'm just like, I don't even care. I'm just gonna go to bed.
So after
Have
the
a nice
Battle of
little dream,
Waterloo,
you know.
the British took no chances and sent him as far away as they could from
Trust.
anywhere. The Navy on
Might
Tristan
go
da
play
Cunha
basketball
would
tomorrow,
patrol
man.
the waters and look out for any French attacks.
Just shoot.
Once Napoleon
Like it's a
died
movie.
from arsenic poisoning he got from his
Shoot my
wallpaper,
ones.
the fleet decided to stay there, and so the island has been inhabited ever since. It was briefly evacuated in 1961 when the island volcano,
Look at that
Queen
shit.
Mary's Peak, erupted.
Wow.
They have their own economy, largely from renting out their outland fishing waters. They also sell unique coins and postage stamps that are something of a collector's item. Since it's hard to trade when you live 2,000 kilometers away from everyone, most of their supplies players come from 8 to 9 times a year from South African fishing boats. It makes ordering off Amazon a bit of a slow process. They do have internet access now, since an internet cafe opened up in 2006. But the internet is so slow on the island that when someone wants to Skype a relative, the entire island has to turn off their internet access to free up bandwidth. Seriously. The world certainly is full of extreme places that push the limits and boggle the mind. But unless you want to be incredibly hot, perishingly cold, unnervingly high, incredibly dehydrated, completely soaked, or just really, really far from anyone, then you're probably best off staying.
What is that?
saw this product, I thought it looked kind of crazy. Didn't really understand what the benefits would be, but I had seen this before and after.
Hey, 42 here. There are some remarkable cities dotted around the world. But what about the ones that have been consigned to the past? Today we look at 9 amazing cities that were once bustling hubs full of life, but are now a mere shell of their former selves, forever lost to history. Our first lost city is in southwestern USA, and it was probably abandoned by the 14th century. White immigrants rediscovered it in the late 1800s. The local Native Americans obviously knew of its existence, but left these sacred ancestral sites uninhabited. Mesa Verde in Colorado is a large national park, and it holds around 4,300 ancient dwellings, with the largest being Cliff Palace. The giant 150-room structure follows a shallow curve of an overhanging cliff, and with its sandstone wall looks like it's been carved right out of the rock. And if you're thinking, wait, that's not a city, remember this was built after a long history of nomadic travelling. The people would constantly be on the move, following the seasons and the various animals that they hunted.
This game is gay,
to build something this big and this permanent was impressive. It would be just like you coming from a tiny farming village and getting off the train in New York. Historians call the people Puebloans, from the Spanish pueblo, meaning town. They started building permanent structures in around 750 AD as a way to store food for longer, probably to get some downtime when they were sick of running after buffalo. As settlements grew, they increased their reliance on farming, since they could no longer move with the migrating animals. Plus, the more that they built, the more wood they needed, and so the less forest there was for them to forage and hunt in. So, what happened to its inhabitants? Well, unlike many great Native American peoples, it wasn't the early settlers who drove them out of their homes. More likely it was a changing climate and a series of mega droughts in the 13th century which hindered their farming. No matter how cool your house is, you're not going to stay if you can't eat. We're heading around the other side of the world now to ancient Mesopotamia, which is considered by many to be the cradle of civilization. With creations such as writing, metallurgy, and farming, they started a long journey that led to you being able to play Angry Birds on your smartphone whilst eating a Big
this pinball's gone through 4 times now. Oh my
one of mankind's greatest cities, Babylon. At its peak, it had a population of over 200,000.
All this to give me 250 fucking massive.
0.003% of the world population. Or to put that into modern terms, it would be over 20 million people. Only Tokyo is bigger than that right now. The city has a long and violent story, and empires have risen and fallen around it. It appeared in history around 2300 BC, although who built it and exactly when are a little fuzzy, since 3,000 years of bad filing have made it kind of difficult to find the original planning application. After 2000 BC, the rise of the Babylonian Empire began, and the city became the key holy place of Mesopotamia, and was likely the largest city in the world at that point. It went for a bit of a slump, but hey, we all do. And then it grew again to greatness between 600 and 300 BC. It's been ruled by leaders such as Nebuchadnezzar, who created the famous Hanging Gardens in Babylon, and by Alexander the Great. When Alexander died, the battle to take over his power basically emptied the city. I can only imagine his wake was full of big egos and an awful...
Man's got that Bingo Smith. Some people are just so fucking lucky, aren't they? Like, you know?
In the book of Genesis. The tower was built to reach all the way up into the heavens, and the architects hoped it would act as a sign that their people would remain and and not be spread out across the world. But then God came down and threw a spanner in the works by making everyone speak a different language.
Look at his
So
jump
they had
shot.
to
It's just
wander off to
money.
separate corners of the earth.
Yeah.
You could read this all as an allegory, showing that Mesopotamia really was the birthplace of all civilizations. So, where is Babylon now? Well, its ruins lie in modern-day Iraq. In the 1980s, Saddam Hussein started to rebuild parts of it to demonstrate the great history of the Arab region. He also decided to add a huge portrait of himself and Nebuchadnezzar and inscribed, "This was built by Saddam Hussein, son of Nebuchadnezzar, to glorify Iraq. If you're going to be a twisted evil dictator, you may as well do it with style." Now we travel south, across the Mediterranean to reach Carthage, a lost city on the tip of Tunisia, at Africa's point closest to Italy. The area is now a suburb of the Tunisian capital, Tunis, but it was once the great power hub of the area, the base of a naval empire. The city was created by Phoenician colonists in about 814 BC, travelling over from their home in what is now known as Lebanon. They were led by their queen, Dido. No, not the late 90s British pop artist. Queen Dido was worshipped for many years after her death. This was largely due to her flamboyant end. A rival king was threatening to invade Carthage if she didn't consent to marry him. She built a huge pyre, pretending that she was burning everything that reminded her of her previous, now deceased husband. But at the final moment, she leapt onto the fire and fell onto her own sword. Now that's what I call rejection. It makes someone not showing up to a date seem half mild. Do you want to go out with me? I'd rather fall on my own sword while simultaneously enveloped in flames. Think I'll take that as a no. Carthage was actually very difficult to attack, though, with its massive navy of 220 warships and an enormous 37 kilometers of walls surrounding it. In fact, it wasn't until 146 BC that it first fell. The Romans, who were in a pretty bad mood from dealing with Hannibal, the Carthaginian military commander, not with Hannibal, for 15 years took the city. They then burnt the ships and sold some 50,000 Carthaginians into slavery. The Romans then built it up into one of the largest cities in their empire. The Vandals took it over for a while, but eventually, in 698 AD, there was a second great battle of Carthage. The armies of Umayyad, one of the largest Islamic caliphates, completely destroyed the city, cutting off its water, tearing down the walls, and wrecking the harbour. It really ruined its retail value. Our next...
Do not want to kick us with anyone, fam. Fuck off. I'm just gonna stop playing this, man. After me, it's not. Once I see it once, that's it, fam. I haven't seen this shit again.
Fuck's sakes, I fucked up that release, man. Damn. Okay. Fair enough. Yeah, you read that. That was stupid of me. Yikes. Nah, this guy's getting okay.
That's good.
I'm tired because I'm not even hitting my releases no more, fam. What is a timed jump shot, fam? say that as a green one.
Interesting.
Let's move this game real quick here. Or not. I just want to win the game, bro. Just don't drag it, 2K. I'm on 20, fam. I'm on 20, like, it's never that deep. Oh, man, I just don't want it to take long, fam. There we go. Good for now. Back to the jars option. I said, yo, what's good, bro? I'm a big 2K streamer and YouTuber, bro. I want to raid you and help you get mad views, G. I'm a big supporter in the community. Yeah, sure.
It's too late.
Yeah, sure. Ah, it's not even Opal T-Mac or any sort of T-Mac, and it's the last one. Didn't lose a single game. What do I get? A deluxe pack. Yay! So excited. So excited. I'm not even gonna get it. Yep. Imagine going all the way through just to get the gold thing I was gonna get anyways. I said I got 90 tokens, fam. It's because I can't even be asked to open fucking them packs anymore as well, because I won't get shit, fam. Done with all of it, man.
Who the fuck is Opal Dan Izzo?
Alright. Fam, he was a free card as well, fam. The king got him.
Got the Brandon Roy.
Wow. Wow. 2K? Oh my days. Anyhow, that slipped out.
Get the ball.
No. Yes. 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 Lovely stuff. Lovely stuff. Oh shit, I forgot about my video I was watching.
While, but eventually in 690 was burning everything, now that's what I call a rejection. It makes someone not showing up to a date seem half a mind. Do you want to go out with me? I'd rather fall on my own sword while simultaneously enveloped in flames. I think I'll take that as a no. Carthage was actually very difficult to attack, though, with its massive navy of 220 warships and an enormous 37 kilometers of walls surrounding them. In fact, it wasn't until 146 BC that it first fell. The Romans, who were in a pretty bad mood from dealing with Hannibal, the Carthaginian military commander, and for 15 years took the city. They then burned the ships and sold some 50,000 Carthaginians into slavery. The Romans then built it up into one of the largest cities in their empire. The Vandals took it over for a while, but eventually in 698 AD, there was a second great battle of Carthage. The armies of Umayyad, one of the largest Islamic caliphates,
completely destroyed the city, cutting off
contested by
water,
everyone
tearing
above
down the walls, and wrecking the harbour. It really ruined its retail value. Our next city was left half abandoned in the jungle for around 300 years, but has now become one of the world's
This guy's
largest
shooting about the shot.
tourist
His
attractions.
green ball shows about the shot.
Angkor Wat is the largest religious monument in the world, and is the pride of Cambodia, even featuring on their national flag. Constructed in the 12th century by King Suryavarman II, it was originally designed as a Hindu temple, but had become Buddhist by the end of the century. This was mainly due to the changing beliefs of the land. The beautiful temples we see now are only a small part of what used to exist. Angkor was in fact the largest pre-industrial city in the world, and between 1010 and 1220, it